Kia ora, my name's Jarrod Kerr, I'm the Chief Economist of Kiwibank. We've had some good news. The COVID-19 infection rates have started to come off. That means that we are in the fortunate position of actually starting to talk about our exit strategy. How do we get out of lockdown and what that looks like? The government later this week will tell us what level 3, level 2 and even level 1 are likely to look like, and how we go about getting into those levels and what we do when we're there. That's important for business. You see, the longer we're in lockdown, the worse it gets. The longer we're in lockdown, the more companies we lose. The more companies we lose, the more jobs we lose. The more jobs we lose, well, the impact on asset prices, such as housing, gets worse. And we could see some large declines in house prices later this year. So Treasury, the New Zealand Treasury, has come up with a bunch of scenarios, about 5 scenarios in total, plus a few extras for the fun of it. And their first scenario, which I think is their most sensible, is we're in lockdown for 4 weeks, and then we go into a level 3 lockdown for 4 weeks, and then from that point on we're sort of in and out of level 1 and 2 into next year. And in that scenario, our economy contracts by about 13%, which is a big number, and our unemployment rate lifts up to about 13% as well, and that's quite significant as a base case scenario. But then they have a worst case scenario where we're in level 4 lockdown for 6 months and level 3 lockdown for another 6 months, and then we're well into 2021 by the time we think of getting out of this. And in that scenario, our economy contracts by about a third, and our unemployment rate rises to about 26%. And we haven't seen those sorts of numbers since the Great Depression of the 30s. So what it tells us is quite clearly the longer we're in lockdown, the worse it gets and the longer it takes for us to recover. But Treasury also threw in a couple of other scenarios, if you like, where they took the government spending, which is currently around 20, we have it at about 25, and they double it to 40, or they increase it another 40 to 60 in total, and that extra government assistance obviously helps and reduces the economic impact, and it puts a bit of a cap on the unemployment rate. So I think what the Treasury has done is quite clever, in that they've shown us the sensitivity to remaining in lockdown for long periods of time, but also the sensitivity to the government increasing its response along the way, and how that can smooth the economic impact of this pandemic. So I expect to see some big announcements from the government either this week or next, and I hope that they start to talk about some of the other measures that they're looking at, whether it's GST or tax cuts, or even giving cash to households and businesses, because what we're doing right now is we're just trying to incubate our economy through this lockdown period. But what's important is when we open ourselves back up to going back to work, we have an opportunity to stimulate demand. You can't really stimulate demand in a lockdown, but you can when we start to come out of lockdown, and I think that's going to be a critical part, and it's going to be a part that the government can play a large role in stimulating the economy back to something more normal. So there's a lot going on. You'll hear from me a lot more as we get more information, but please stay strong. Kia kaha.